Man City 3, Bayern Munich nil, and that was a complete whitewash. Oh my god, I thought this was going to be the tie that was going to have two heavyweights clashing with each other, going blow for blow. Really exciting football. But it turned out to be none of the sort. It turned out to be really a dominant display for Manchester City, who completely took Bayern Munich apart. It wasn't really fair at times, but some of the football was seamless through the attacks. And as I've said before, Man City are starting to click. They're starting to play some beautiful football now and exhibited that again today. Really exciting stuff. I mean, Bayern Munich, they let me down. I can't lie to you lot, Bayern Munich did let me down. I was thinking I was going to see a side here that always perform in Europe. I bigged them up yesterday saying that Bayern Munich, no matter how they do in their league, and I know that they've had a real struggle in their Bundesliga this season with other teams like Freiburg, Union Berlin, Borussia Dortmund putting up a fight. They always seem to do well in Europe, Bayern Munich, no matter how bad they're doing in their normal leagues. But today, they struggled against City. They could not cope in the boxes. Man City was so dangerous in attack and defending-wise. Although Bayern Munich were getting through and they were going through to the last man, their defending right at the last-ditch tackles was so good from Bayern Munich. So good. The fact they were able to make last-ditch tackles, whether it was Ake, whether it was Ruben Diaz, for example, they were able to do it every single time and stop Bayern scoring. And to get a clean sheet against this Bayern Munich side is a really good look from Man City, who played really well this game. So I have to say congratulations. I was kind of split as an Arsenal fan. A part of me wanted Man City to win, obviously, so they're distracted for the Premier League. But also at the same time, I don't want Man City to win the Champions League. I'm kind of like repping Bayern right now. But you have to applaud it and say, well done, Man City, played really well today. Luke's coming in with a point here saying Man City was excellent that game. Good and strong result for City. Going into the Allianz Arena 3-0 up is great. Brilliant point. Exactly. That's the thing. You say that playing second leg sometimes is meant to be the advantage. That's what UEFA say by saying the team that finishes top of their group gets the second game at home. But sometimes it can be an advantage to play the first game at home. Because if you deal with business at home, you can make that second leg meaningless. Now, the tie isn't necessarily over. But you have to say that it's very unlikely for City to slip up at this stage. They did everything they could do in that first leg. Every single Man City fan, if you ask them going into that stadium tonight, you're going to win this game 3-0, they would have definitely taken it 100%. And they got exactly that result. Brilliant result from City and brilliant performance to match it. Tommy Tornado with another comment coming in as well. What a game of football. UEFA Champions League is better than the World Cup. Ooh, that's a controversial point. For me, I love World Cup football. I know the quality isn't as good normally in the World Cup, but I just love how the World Cup's got two teams fighting for their country, man. They put everything on the line. And I can trade a bit of quality for the heart and soul of it. This game, I can't lie, I thought it'd be two really evenly matched sides. Out of all the ties, genuinely, and I'm not alone thinking this, out of all the ties of the Champions League quarterfinal, I'm looking at this one thinking, oh my god, Man City, Bayern Munich, what two teams of football to play in the quarterfinals? Evenly matched, both favourites arguably to win the whole thing, but this game really showed the difference in class and quality. Man City, between the boxes it was even. I think Bayern Munich ended up with more possession, but in the danger areas, in both boxes, Man City dominated that game completely. Unbelievable performance, and Pep Guardiola will be so happy. Paso coming as well. Diaz was a difference tonight. I agree. He was so good. That last-ditch tackles at the end, even when Gnabry shook him and he was able to find that last-ditch tackle to prevent Bayern from scoring, that's so big. Because, trust me, guys, 3-0 is so different to 3-1. If Bayern Munich scored at the end of that game, even if it was 3-1, it gives them a little bit of momentum going into that game at the Allianz next week. The fact it was 3-0, they weren't able to score at all. And Bayern had some chances. Sane was taking licks from outside the box, but defended so well, Man City. Honestly, it was a perfect performance from them. And as an Arsenal fan, I'm worried. Because if they carry this on into the Premier League, it's dangerous. Because honestly, Man City would have beaten any team in world football if they played like that. Any team. Because that was so good, that performance. Tie it over for me, Tommy says. Hey, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised people are saying that. You know what? A part of me wants to say that. I'm only not saying tie over because a part of me has some faith in Bayern Munich that they're going to be able to pull something out the bag. Because they are Bayern Munich and they just do stuff like that. But if I really think about it, it probably is tie over, to be completely honest. You're probably right. But a part of me is just thinking, it's Bayern Munich. I've seen them do it before. They're beating Barcelona 8-2 in the Champions League. They're that type of team that, yeah, European powerhouse. But you got to look at on the evidence of today's match. It does look like tie over because it was a complete whitewash on Man City's behalf. Man tap. I'm not sure what that means, but yeah. Do you mean like Man City tapped it in? I don't know. But yeah, unbelievable performance from them. Bernardo Silva was special tonight. Really good. And of course, Pep Guardiola will be really happy because the one change he made from the weekend was bringing in Bernardo Silva for Riyad Mahrez. For me, I would not have chosen that personally. I would have chosen Riyad Mahrez because I think he would have tested Alphonso Davies more, especially since Alphonso Davies is a player that likes to bomb forward. I think Riyad Mahrez would have had real joy down the right-hand side, but I think I understand why he did it, because it was more of a defensive approach, I thought, bringing in Bernardo Silva. A bit more control in midfield, and we know Bernardo Silva is going to apply himself defensively. So when Bayern Munich went on the attack with Sane and Davies down that left-hand side, or Gnabry down that left-hand side, we know Bernardo Silva would be more defensively adapt rather than Mahrez, who would probably want to go forward more. But it ended up actually working on the attacking favour because Bernardo Silva was getting so much joy and he was slotting into midfield and they were overloading both sides Man City, and Bayern Munich couldn't keep up. As soon as the ball in the dangerous area, I thought they were going to score Man City. They looked like scoring every time they went forward. And although they won 3-0, they had a couple more chances. Gundogan in the first half could have put it away when Sommer would just completely drop the football. I mean, you're looking at it and you're thinking, Man City won 3 tonight. It could have been by even more. Either way, it's comfortable for them. Yes, Munich colour. Yeah, I don't know what that means, but I was repping Bayern Munich tonight, man. I had the Bayern Munich shirt on. Despite being an Arsenal fan, obviously you might say that Man City progressing in the Champions League would be a benefit as an Arsenal fan because they split their eggs across multiple baskets. I still don't want Man City to win that Champions League. I wanted Bayern Munich to do well, but you have to say, man, from a non-biased standpoint, you got to applaud Man City. That was a hell of a performance. Rodri's goal was big. Until that point, City hadn't really offered any threats. Very good point, Jeff. Very, very good point. Because before that, I thought it was quite evenly matched. I was watching that game and it was like a tactical masterclass. Like both teams feeling each other out. Both teams having chances. I think Sane was looking dangerous, especially for Bayern Munich. But that goal, it needed something special to kick that game into life. And boy, did we get it from Rodri. Rodri's been so good for Man City. One of the most underrated players. I think he's starting to get his plaudits now. But even so, he's so big, man. He chopped that on his left foot and just wrapped it into the top corner. A goal of dreams, man. And really sparked that game into life. Everything that Man City would have wanted, because it gave them the impetus to push on. And I think Bayern Munich, once they conceded that first goal, they folded a little bit. And it's strange from them, because normally I associate Bayern Munich being a team that doesn't fold. They've got supreme confidence. Whether they're 1-0 down, 2-0 down, they stay in it. They never seem to capitulate. But today it seemed to be that way. As soon as Man City got that first goal, they grew and grew in confidence. And Bayern Munich didn't really offer anything to counter that, to be completely honest. And it was a real shame, because I was looking forward to what I thought was going to be a brilliant, evenly contested match. But it never really seemed to be that way. Even at 1-0, I only really saw Man City going forward. I think Bayern Munich had a flurry in that second half where they could have had a few chances. But overall, I think it was Man City dominating this game and thoroughly deserved to win this football match by 3-0 in my opinion. Upamecano, that brother was on Horlicks. He didn't want to defend tonight. He completely cost them in that second goal, man. Upamecano has been really good this season. I think in the World Cup, he was actually really good for France as well. But today's game, that second goal, what is he doing, man? Sommer as well at times, dilly-dallying on the football. It's in the Champions League, you can't afford to make silly mistakes like that. And they did. They just made silly mistakes and City punished them. And against any team in world football, you don't want to make mistakes. And against Man City, it's going to get exemplified and magnified by a factor of 1,000 because they're that clinical, they're that good. They've got Haaland, they've got De Bruyne, etc. Players that will literally, they're salivating at even the thought of that team making a mistake because they're ready to pounce. Benfica lost 2-0. Yes, I saw, and that surprised me. I genuinely thought Benfica were going to progress from Inter Milan. Of course, being at home and you're losing 2-0, it's never a good sign. And Inter Milan looking very likely to get to semi-finals now, especially Romelu Lukaku doubling lead, because the difference from 1-0 to 2-0 is so massive in Champions League football. Because 1-0 is one thing, but to win 2-0, it's just that extra goal. There's not even away goals anymore, but it's just that extra difference, man. And yeah, Benfica. I didn't watch the game obviously because I was watching Man City Bayern Munich, but big up Inter Milan for getting that result because I predicted Benfica to go through in my predictions yesterday. To be fair, I said Man City would go through. I predicted this game 3-1. Those of you that were in my stream yesterday after the Wrexham versus Notts County match, you probably would have heard me predict this game to be 3-1 Manchester City. Obviously, it finished 3-0. I did expect Man City to go through because I think they've got that extra quality in the Champions League this season, but I didn't expect the game to go like this. I thought it'd be Man City and Bayern Munich going blow for blow, and then they go 2-1 up, and Bayern Munich are pushing for an equaliser, and Man City hit one on the counter-attack. That's how I expected the match to go. I didn't expect it by any stretch of imagination to go like this, where Man City just took Bayern Munich to the cleaners. Upamecano had a nightmare. Yes, exactly. Just like RD12 said, Upamecano, nightmare performance, man. Had no kind of composure defending. And the thing with Man City is they smell danger, that football club. They smell danger. If they see a defender that's worried or not composed, that team can capitalise. And you don't want to show any weakness in front of a Pep Guardiola side because they will take advantage and they will put you to the sword. And fair play Man City, they did exactly that. Surprised Inter beat Benfica in Lisbon. Yes, exactly. I was surprised as well. I thought Benfica definitely would at least get a draw in the first leg, at least. But not good whatsoever, man. Upamecano, Luke says, yeah, that's what it looked like this game, man. Upamecano, indeed. Upamecano had absolutely zero composure and looked like a primary school defender, to be completely honest. I also think Inter agree. I think 2-0 up and go into the San Siro next week. You're going to be a stupid man to bet against Inter Milan, to be completely honest right now. Man City versus Inter Milan and Real Madrid versus Napoli semi-finals. Swap it the other way around, Luke. Man City are with Real Madrid on their side and Inter Milan are with Napoli. Because the way they did the draw, they drew it so that there's already a path to the final. So basically, the winner of Man City versus Bayern Munich, which, let's be honest, I think it's going to be Man City now, will play the winner of Real Madrid versus Chelsea, which, as you said, most likely will probably be Real Madrid. Man City versus Real Madrid would be a hell of a semi-final, by the way. It'll be a repeat of last year's one as well. So good. If it's anything like last year's semi-final, boy, are we in for a treat. And of course, I'll be covering that on this channel. I cannot wait for when the semi-finals start. Now, Inter can't play Man City in the semis, exactly, just as Tommy said. Could be a Milan semi-final. It could be, and what a semi-final that would be as well. Inter Milan versus AC Milan. We know those two sides playing the same stadium, a lot of bad blood between them. I actually recently visited Milan as well, and visited the San Siro. So I heard all about the history between the two sides. I don't want to bore everyone about it right now on this stream, because we're here to talk about the football. But yeah, just say there's a lot of bad blood between those two sides, and it would be a big semi-final if we see those two play each other. Oh, they can't, Luke says, yeah, they can't. Possible, yeah. According to Google, Chelsea have a 90% chance to win tomorrow. I think that's generous. Going into the Bernabeu, that's very generous. I don't think Chelsea are going to win tomorrow. Can Chelsea progress in this leg? Potentially. I think the aim for Chelsea going into tomorrow's game is don't put the tie out of sight. Don't do what happened to Bayern Munich today where it's impossible for them. If they even lose 1-0 or 2-1, that's a good result for Chelsea. Just don't get demolished at the Bernabeu. Don't get demolished and keep it tight. Anything a draw or above is a W for Chelsea. Don't get beat. If you lose 2-1 or if you lose 1-0, don't try and gun for an equaliser. Take the 1-0 loss and bring it back to Stamford Bridge. That's what I would do if I was Chelsea. That's just my opinion. I think even a 2-1 loss is not a bad result taking it back to Stamford Bridge. Just don't go into that game. And if you're 1-0 down or if you're losing by 1 goal, don't be gunning for an equaliser, man. Just take that 1-0 loss. Take it as it is, away from home in a hostile atmosphere against a team that's expected to demolish you, and keep moving forward, man. I think it'll be similar, 3-0 Real Madrid for me. And if it is, the tie's over, to be honest. I think the tie is over. But Chelsea, they're a European team, man. Just like Real Madrid, Chelsea always perform in Europe. This season, they won the Champions League under Roberto Di Matteo. I think I'm right in saying they finished 9th or 10th that season. They definitely finished out the European spots. They were terrible in the league. But they seem to turn up in the Champions League. They're that type of team, Chelsea. They're a Champions League European powerhouse. I can't wait for it. Of course, I'll be streaming after that game right here on this channel, so subscribe if you're new. Because Real Madrid versus Chelsea live stream, same time, 10 p.m. tomorrow. Massive game. A lot of people are expecting Real Madrid to win that one, but you never know, man. It's Champions League football. Anything can happen. UEFA Champions League is my favourite competition from the quarters onwards, just quality. I agree. I 100% agree. And I was making this point as well the other day, saying the Champions League is great and all, but I only really love watching Champions League football in the knockout stages, especially the quarterfinals, because some dodgy teams can still get through to the last 16. I mean, we saw Man City demolish Leipzig 7-0 in the last 16. I'm not being funny, yeah, but in the last 16 of Champions League, you can't be losing 7-0. Like, that's actually a violation to the tournament, and you shouldn't be in the tournament if you're going to lose 7-0. From the quarters onwards, that's when you weed out all the casuals, all the teams that don't deserve to be there, and that's when the real quality footballers and real quality football teams start to be in the mix. And to be fair, I thought this game would be very evenly matched. It looked like a whitewash on City's behalf, and they did their business, completely taking Bayern Munich to the cleaners. But I honestly thought that'd be a closer match. Either way, really good performance and really good strong side from Man City. And as you said, the quarters are where I like to see the Champions League football, man. That's when you really start to see quality sides match up against each other and you really start to get into the thick of things. Is the San Siro a great stadium? Looks good. Honestly, Tommy, I've been to a few stadiums now. I've been to Old Trafford, Anfield, I've been to the Emirates, I've been to Nou Camp. San Siro is my favourite stadium I've been to. That stadium is massive. When I went to Old Trafford, it holds 75,000, but genuinely standing in there, it looked like it held 60,000. Old Trafford didn't look big. San Siro holds, I think, 80,000. In there, it looked massive. It looked like it could have held 100,000. It's a beautiful stadium. It's got 4 changing rooms. 1 for AC Milan, 1 for Inter Milan, 2 for the away teams. It's absolutely massive. It's a massive stadium and a beautiful stadium as well, the San Siro, man. It's honestly worthy of hosting any competition in world football. I think it's going to get knocked down recently as well, which I'm not a fan of them knocking it down in the near future, but if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. Do you prefer no away goals rule? That's an interesting question, very interesting question. I'm a fan of the away goals rule. I just wasn't a fan of away goals in extra time because I don't think that's fair. I don't think if you go to extra time, if the away team scores, the home team has to then score 2 goals because with only 30 minutes of football left, I don't think that's necessarily fair. So although I was a fan of away goals and I like the concept, I think it should have just been scrapped in extra time. Me personally, yeah, and I think a lot of people disagree with this because I've had this debate with my friends and they wholeheartedly disagreed with me. I don't think you should have extra time until you get to the final. I think in every game, it's because, look, in my opinion, yeah, you play a home leg and an away leg. Away goals should count. If it's evenly tied after 90 minutes in each leg, why are you having extra time in one team's stadium? You might as well just go straight to penalties. That's the fairest way. The only time there should be extra time for me is in the final. That's just my opinion on it. Because extra time anyway, the teams are leggy. All the players are tired, etc. So I see your point saying, do you prefer no away goals rule? Me personally, I prefer away goals as a rule. I really enjoyed having it. Add the extra dimension to it. For me, they should just scrap in extra time. And for me, they should just scrap extra time anyway and only include extra time in the final of the Champions League. That's just my opinion on it. Feel free to disagree, and I think a lot of people would disagree because when I had this conversation with my friends, they disagreed with me. They're like, Dennis, what you on about, man? What? No, terrible. I love extra time, etc. But for me, I just think extra time, unless it's a final, is not needed and it's unfair to have it anyway because one team gets a whole extra 30 minutes in their stadium. Not really fair. I've been down on Grealish since he joined City, but he's really picked up his game the last 4 to 6 weeks, helping out back on defence as well. Look, I agree with you. I'm going to be honest right here, yeah? When Man City signed Grealish for 100 million from Aston Villa, I was thinking, what are they doing? What are they doing? It's way too much money, English tax on the player. He's not a Pep Guardiola type footballer. Why did they do it? And it took him a year to adjust. It probably took him a year and a bit to adjust. But since the World Cup, I hold my hands up. Grealish has been absolutely quality. Absolute quality for Man City. He's direct with the ball. He's dangerous. He's helping back on defence. He's contributing goals and assists to his game. Everything you want to see from a winger. And genuinely, he's been Man City's best attacking player since the World Cup, in my opinion. Genuinely, he's changing games for Man City. And from a wingers, you need someone that's going to affect the football game. It's not enough to just be dangerous. You need to add goals and assists, especially for playing for Man City. And Jack Grealish has added that to his game. So he's been really, really good, man. I agree with you because when they first signed him, I wasn't a massive fan. In fact, I was going to call him to be one of the flops of the summer, especially for the amount of money they spent on him. 100 million. Like, you can sign a lot of top players for that amount. And I still believe it's a bit of an overpay. But we know Man City have got money for days. They're willing to splash the cash. And I have to say wholeheartedly, Jack Grealish has really performed for City, especially in recent weeks. Big up him for that. Brilliant performances. Real Madrid have an aura in the Champions League. Mentality monsters. Agree 100%. Really good in the Champions League, that football team, man. You saw it last season against Man City. You know what? It was like 2 goals from Rodrigo in like stoppage time. Is crazy. Even against Liverpool this season, they're 2-0 down at Anfield, yet they still managed to come back and win that game 5-2. Man City are just that. Man City. Real Madrid are just that team in the Champions League. They've got that aura. It's a mental thing to them. Sometimes it is that. Like you look at, for example, a team like PSG. They lack all mentality in the Champions League. PSG are a good football team. Like if you look at the names on that team sheet, Mbappe, Messi, Neymar, the most electric front three in world football. Yet, when it comes to Champions League, they severely underperform. How can you have a strike force of Mbappe, Messi, Neymar? Granted, not all of them played across the both legs. Yet they could not score against Bayern Munich over 2 legs. Yet Man City put 3 past Bayern Munich in one leg. It's crazy. Some teams are just adept at playing Champions League football. And Real Madrid are exactly that. So I'm really excited to see Man City versus Real Madrid if it does end up happening in the semi-finals. Because, look, Man City on paper are the best team in the Champions League, in my opinion. And they're my pick to win the Champions League. And I said that from yesterday. But Real Madrid, as you said, Tommy, have an aura in this Champions League, have a massive aura. So if it comes to Real Madrid, Man City, what wins? Is it the quality or is it the mentality? That's the real question. I'd be really excited to see that match. I agree with you on the extra time. Usually goes to penalties anyway. Yeah, so thankfully I'm not the only one. Because when I spoke to my friends about it, they were like, no, I love seeing extra time. Look, for me, extra time in the final. That's when it should be played. Any other time, it's not necessary to have extra time, really. Let's be completely honest about it. Because the players get tired anyway. And as you said, Tommy, it usually goes to penalties. Bayern fans were quality, agree. Those Bayern Munich fans were unbelievable, man. I heard them throughout. I came up to Manchester as well. I'm in Manchester right now. And I came up in my Bayern Munich shirt. And I was getting bad looks from City fans the whole way. But I saw a couple of Bayern Munich fans as well. They started speaking to me in German. I don't understand German, I can't lie. But I started saying to them, I was like, what do you think? What's your chance on them? And they felt a bit confident, to be fair, going up to this game, Bayern Munich. Because they know, the Bayern Munich fans coming up, when I was speaking to a couple of them, they were thinking, look, we're Bayern Munich. We've got that winner's mentality around them. I do feel that with Bayern Munich. That's why I was really surprised they got whitewashed in this game 3-0. Because Bayern Munich, no matter who they play, like even PSG in the last leg, they always come with the mentality that we're Bayern Munich, we're the best. But today they really look second best. So it was really surprising to see. But as you said, the Bayern fans were quality. Even at the end, holding up all their scarves despite the fact their team was getting demolished. A really good sign, man. Have you visited the Allianz? I think that's the name. Bayern's ground, that's the biggest in Europe. It's not quite the biggest in Europe. I think actually Borussia Dortmund's one's bigger, and I think Nou Camp's the biggest. But I haven't visited Allianz. I haven't even been Germany in general. I'd love to visit it though. I'd love to visit Bayern Munich Stadium, and I'd love to visit the Signal Iduna Park, Borussia Dortmund Stadium as well. I'd love to visit those two, man, and watch a game. It'd be absolutely brilliant. Absolutely agree with you on the away goals rule, Jeff says. Thank you, yep. As I think I really love the concept of it, just in extra time. Not necessary for me on the away goals. Scrap it in extra time. Yeah, not sure PSG would do anything in the UEFA Champions League. Exactly, they're just not a UEFA Champions League team, man. They're not. They struggle. In their league, it's a farmers league. And for me, I could debate this all day long. The thing with PSG is, right, when you're forced to play in the farmers league, like his Ligue 1, and you're playing you're playing in second gear the whole time. You're not really exerting much energy. It's a bit like exhibition matches for you. To then turn it on for a couple games a year, when it comes to that one Champions League match where you really need to turn it on, it's hard. It's hard to go from playing not intense football to then playing really intense Champions League-like football in an instant. It's really difficult to do that. Trust me. It's hard to just flick it on like a switch. Even the best players in the world struggle from it. So I think that is the problem for PSG. Their league isn't competitive enough. And it's hard to jump from a not competitive league to a really competitive, intense Champions League quality football. Anyone will struggle to do that. And PSG, that's been their problem. They're yet to win the Champions League. For all the money they've spent, for all the quality players they've signed, they're still yet to win the Champions League. So for me, massive, massive failure on their behalf. I think Real Madrid history plays a part. I still fancy them over Man City, even if they aren't the favourites. That's a really good point. If Real Madrid and Man City are in the semi-final, let me know you guys your prediction for it. As Tommy says, he believes Real Madrid to progress. I'm not sure, to be honest, because I think Man City would. Just because last season they were so close, like genuinely this close to progressing. And I can't say whether Real Madrid have got better from last season. I'm not too sure. But genuinely, I give it to Man City, but I wouldn't be surprised if Real Madrid get through. As you said, their history plays a part. 14 Champions League trophies, I want to say. 14 is a gargantuan number. Second place is AC Milan with 7. They've got doubled second place's Champions League trophies. This is their competition, Real Madrid. And as you said, history plays a part. Psychologically, it's their competition. Like, they walk into Champions League games knowing it's their competition to lose. No matter how good, how bad they are, it's their competition, Real Madrid. And that's just a winner's mentality. Flat out, Real Madrid have winner's mentality. And they prove it again and again in the Champions League. And like they did against Liverpool, a lot of people were actually tipping as one of the other favourites to win the Champions League, no matter how bad they do in Europe. Liverpool always seems, no matter how bad they're doing in the Premier League, Liverpool always seem to do well in the Champions League. But Real Madrid took them to the cleaners, especially at Anfield, just completely demolished Liverpool. And we know how hostile Anfield can be as a stadium. I was going to say League One is terrible, can't help them. Exactly. The intensity is just not there. And to go from the intensity of League One, which is terrible, as you said, to the intensity of the Champions League is tough, man. It's really tough to make that jump. And I don't begrudge the players as much because, honestly, any player would struggle to do that. It's like me playing friendly type football, training, and then being asked to play in like a massive football match. It's hard to do that. Genuinely, it's very hard. But that being said, the quality players they've got there, they should be doing better in Champions League. They should be reaching at least the semi-finals, in my opinion, for the squad PSG have, to be completely honest. French League has never been great, surprisingly. It's never been great. And the thing is, when you have one team in PSG who is so dominant, it makes the league terrible. It genuinely does. Like, PSG win it year in, year out. It's boring, man. It's boring. Genuinely, it's boring to watch. Yeah, Monaco will be there every other year. Yeah, Marseille might have a go. Lyon might have a go. But are they really pushing PSG? I think Lille won the Ligue 1 like a couple of seasons ago. But other than that, it's literally PSG's year in, year out. And it just gets a bit boring. And how many times can you win the Ligue 1 and start to think, actually, we need this Champions League. Like, they can't keep winning Liga and be satisfied, PSG. They need to make that next jump and try and win the Champions League. But the way they're playing right now, it's not looking like they're able to do so, to be completely honest. Yes, La Liga is not the same for Madrid fans. Exactly. Champions League is their competition. Barcelona are beating Real Madrid in La Liga right now, and Barcelona look like they're going to win the Champions League. But when it comes to... Barcelona look like they're going to win La Liga. But when it comes to Champions League, that's Real Madrid's competition, man. That is Real Madrid's all ends up. I think even Barca fans would agree with that. They're just so good. So good in the Champions League, Real Madrid, and no one can match them. I'd pick Man City against Real Madrid, but City can't let them stay close. You can't edge the beast, you have to kill the beast. Exactly. Very good point, and I'd 100% agree with that. My tip is Man City as well, but if the game is tight with 10 minutes left, or it goes to penalties, or it goes to extra time, I'm shifting all my money on Real Madrid, sorry. So overall, I'd pick Man City to win, but as Jeff said, he hit the nail on the head with this one right here. They can't keep it tight. Man City need to have a gap and need to have some kind of breathing space of Real Madrid. Because if there's one team you don't want to have a narrow lead to, it's Real Madrid, because they will find a way to get back in that game. I thought they were dead and buried. Last year, I remember the second leg at the Bernabeu, I thought it was over. They needed 2 goals and they got it from Rodrigo. And they got it in 2 attacks. It was ludicrous. I've never seen anything like it. Remarkable scenes. That is what it's like. That is what it's like playing for Real Madrid, man. Anything can happen out of nowhere. And Rodrigo, who's not necessarily their star player. We know Benzema and Vinicius Jr. probably take the headlines for Real Madrid in terms of attacking players. But Rodrigo came up big there. So as Jeff said right here, Man City, if they're going to progress, and I think they will pass Real Madrid, if it is Real Madrid in the semi-finals, they got to make sure they put them to the sword properly. A real good football team is ruthless. They don't let the opposition even have a breathing space, even have some kind of wiggle room. They put them to the sword. As soon as you smell any kind of blood, you end it right there and there. And fair play Man City, because today they did that. They could have been 1-0 against Bayern Munich and cruised to end the game. They could have, even at 2-0, they could have cruised. But they sensed that Bayern Munich were there for the taking, and they put them to the sword and won 3-0. And well done, Man City, for doing that. Because now they look really comfortable going into that second leg. They need to do the same thing against Real Madrid. Because Real Madrid will give them chances. Real Madrid aren't the complete team. The thing with Real Madrid is their mentality is there, but they do leak goals. So if Man City put the game to bed, that's what they need to focus on doing. They can't keep the game close. It's the same with the Bundesliga. Bayern on for 11 in a row, although it's competitive this year. A very good point, and I'd agree with that as well, because look at Bayern Munich. The thing that's a joke about the Bundesliga is, right, yeah? Bayern Munich got their keeper injured in Manuel Neuer. In any other league, if your keeper's injured, you'd have to play your reserve keeper. What do Bayern Munich do? They scout the whole Bundesliga and go, Sommer, I like him. Let's take Sommer from Borussia Mönchengladbach. What a joke. Imagine Ederson getting injured and Man City going, who do I want? Oh, I'll take Alisson from Liverpool. Actually, no, I'll take Ramsdale from Arsenal. Oh, actually, I want David Raya from Brentford. That's what it's like. What type of league is that? How can Bayern Munich have their keeper injured and they just pick and choose who they want to replace him? It's absolutely crazy and ludicrous. They literally take whatever the best talent is in the league and just bring it to Bayern Munich. It's a flawed league. As you said, it's competitive this year, and big up Borussia Dortmund, Union Berlin, Freiburg, etc. Any team that's putting up some kind of fight in the Bundesliga. But as you said, it's boring as well to watch. Extremely boring. So I'm just watching the same year in, year out, man. Bayern Munich winning and whitewashing every team. Fair play to them though, because at least instead of PSG, they actually put up a fight in Europe, Bayern Munich. But even so, I'd never watch Bundesliga because it bores me to death, to be completely honest. Where would the first leg be if it happens? That's a really good point. I can search up actually, Man City versus Real Madrid 2023. Where would that first leg be? Because that's a really good point. If it does happen, I can't find where it's going to be. So if someone can search up, leave in the chat, please. If the next leg, where it would be. Because if Man City get past Bayern and Real Madrid get past Chelsea, where would the first leg be? Would it be in Man City Bayern, or would it be in Real Madrid or Chelsea? Please let me know, someone that can search it up. At least Eredivisie and Serie A is spread out for winners. Looks like Feyenoord will win Eredivisie this year. Eredivisie is competitive and Serie A is competitive. You're right. Those two leagues are really, really good in that sense. Eredivisie, of course, the Dutch league. Ajax normally do win it quite a lot. PSV as well, but it looks like Feyenoord are going to win it this year, which would be really nice. Serie A as well. I mean, AC Milan won it last year. It's been Juventus for a few seasons in a row, but AC Milan won it last year. Napoli looked good to win it this year. That's a really good league as well. I'm a big fan of Serie A as well. I love the intensity that league's played at. Killer Yassin with a comma. Not sure what that means, my friend. But if you're new around here, make sure you subscribe as I do match reviews. My next one will be tomorrow for Real Madrid versus Chelsea. Another massive game in the Champions League. Leagues I keep an eye on are the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, Eredivisie, Portuguese League, which I think is the Liga NOS and Liga 1. Well, so you can keep an eye on a lot of the leagues. For me personally, I keep an eye on all the leagues, but the leagues that I focus a lot of my attention on is the Premier League, to be fair, and the Champions League. I watch a lot of Premier League football. Every single game that's on TV in the Premier League, I watch it. I watched Crystal Palace Leeds the other day. I was going to do a match review to that, but I wanted to watch the build-up to Liverpool Arsenal. Obviously, I watched Liverpool Arsenal. Any Premier League matches that's on TV, I watch. So if you ask me about any Premier League team, I will have a clear, confident opinion on that team because I watch a lot of football regarding them. Other leagues, I keep an eye on it, but I just don't, being a full-time student, I don't have the time to really watch games from a lot of the other leagues. The Premier League fascinates me. I love that league. It's the best league. And of course, I watch a lot of Champions League and I watch a bit of Europa League as well. But yeah, it's nice to see you watching a lot of leagues. I keep an eye on what's going on around the other leagues, but most of all, I focus a lot of my attention on the Premier League. I'm just a Premier League merchant. They're the top 7 leagues in Europe, in my opinion. Yes, the Portuguese league is a very underrated league, that Liga NOS. Very, very underrated, man. Because they produce some top talents like Porto, Benfica, even Sporting Lisbon. 3 really good sides. You got Braga who float in and around there as well. They produce some top talents in there, the Portuguese league as well. Really good players. And they're always a threat in Europe. I mean, Sporting Lisbon knocked Arsenal out of the Europa League. Benfica, they might go out to Inter Milan now, but they still reach the quarterfinals. There's some really good sides in that Liga NOS. It's a really good league, the Portuguese league, and extremely underrated as well. So it's good to see you've mentioned in the top 7 leagues because a lot of people forget the Portuguese league when they list out the top leagues in Europe. It'll be good for the Premier if Arsenal can win it this year. I agree because we've talked about how Bundesliga is a bit of a whitewash for Bayern Munich, how Liga 1's a bit of a whitewash for PSG. Premier League's looking like a bit of a whitewash for Man City, to be completely honest. Other teams haven't really put up a fight. I know Liverpool put up a slight fight, but it seems the more Liverpool fight, the more City up their tempo and up their gear. It looks like this year it's going to be a ding-dong battle between Arsenal and Man City. As an Arsenal fan, I'm worried because, again today, City looked ruthless. How City played today, and that is their best team, it is their best formation, and Pep Guardiola seemed to click now. He stopped tinkering with his formation, with his personnel. He started to find a real consistent formation. As I always say, if you want consistent results, you've got to start with a consistent formation. Then you've got to have a consistent team selection, consistent tactics, and then you'll get consistent results. You can't have consistent results if you don't have consistent anything before that. And they're starting to build some consistency with the team, and the results are coming as well. The way Man City played in today's game, they would beat any team on planet Earth. Any football team, Real Madrid, they'd whitewash them. If Arsenal come to the Etihad on April the 26th and Man City perform like they performed today, I'm very worried as an Arsenal fan. Very, very worried. Because they will take us to the cleaners playing like that. Man City today were good. Very good. In both boxes especially. Because Bayern Munich had more possession. And I genuinely thought in the middle of the park, Bayern Munich were better. But in the final third, Man City were miles the better side. Miles the better team. Attacking-wise, they looked more dangerous. And defensively, they looked resolute and comfortable. Whereas Upamecano was very raggedy and not composed whatsoever, Diaz looked extremely composed. Ake was extremely composed. Akanji as well. So that really showed the difference, yeah? Man City were ruthless up front. Bayern Munich were toothless up front. Man City were composed in defence. Bayern Munich were rash. That was the difference. In the final thirds, Man City took them to the cleaners. And that's where you win football matches. And Bayern Munich exhibited that word for word. Brilliant display. I watched the Prem mainly. I always watch El Clasico, Milan Derby, and the Old Firm. I haven't watched El Clasico recently. I watched the Copa del Rey final, which finished Copa del Rey semi-final, which Real Madrid won 4-0. I kept up to date with that. But to be completely honest with you, El Clasico, since Messi and Ronaldo left, I don't really watch it as much. Milan Derby, of course, a big one. San Siro, of course, is so big. And Old Firm. Old Firm is the second biggest rivalry in world football for me, behind El Clasico. Old Firm is massive. Celtic versus Rangers. Politics, religion. The city is split. Scotland is split between the two sides. It's an unbelievable derby, the Old Firm. I really love it. The thing is, for me, it happens too often. And I think you're the one that actually made this point yesterday, Tommy, as well, when I reviewed Wrexham versus Notts County, saying that they play each other 3, 4, 5, 6 times a year. And is it too many games? I think so. I think the special thing about the Premier League is you play each team each team twice, once away, once at home. So Arsenal went to Anfield on Sunday and we didn't win. We haven't won at Anfield since 2012. We've now got to wait till next season to have our next opportunity at winning at Anfield. Like, that's why it's so big. If Arsenal win at Anfield, if Arsenal win at White Hart Lane like we did, it's massive because we played Tottenham once at White Hart Lane. To get the win there, it's massive. We have bragging rights until next season. So I really do think it's something special about playing that team once a season away from home and once a season at home. With Newcastle Man United takeovers, will Man City be so dominant? Really good point. Really good point. For me, if Newcastle make Champions League, the whole Premier League should watch out. because that gives their owners the license to spend that money. Because believe it or not, Man City owners have been quite restrictive for how affluent they are, and I believe they're the most affluent owners in world football. They're trillionaires. They're not trillionaires, but as in like multi-billionaires. Like that Saudi Arabian family is worth a lot of money. They can buy every player on world football if they really wanted to. Yet they haven't. They made some really smart signings. Trippier I thought was really smart. Dan Burn was a good bit of business. Bruno Guimaraes is unbelievable bit of business. I was begging Arsenal to sign that guy when we were linked to him in January, but we never seemed to pull the trigger. Unbelievable bit of business, because he walks into any Premier League team, Bruno Guimaraes. And Alexander Isak, I've spoken a lot about him as well. When I watched him in the Euros for Sweden, I saw a striker that I really saw the signs of a top striker. He just didn't have his finishing boots on, and he's looking to build that at Newcastle. And that's the thing, as a striker, you can't teach the type of the IQ, the hold-up play, the frame. It's very hard to teach that. You can teach finishing though. And Isak has the IQ to his game, and now he's starting to add the finishing to his game as well. So Newcastle, really, really dangerous. And if they make Champions League, the owners have every right in the world to splash that cash and sign the top players in the summer. And really, we could see Newcastle going like this and well overtake Man City and teams like that. Equally, Manchester United. I mean, Manchester United will always be a historic club, always be a massive club in England, because they are Manchester United, the biggest club in England, with or without the Glazers. But with a takeover, with potential Qatari ownership coming in, we could see Man United really go back to their dominating best as well, which would be troubling. The thing is, right, where do other teams keep up? Because I'm seeing Arsenal here, and Arsenal, I'm a massive fan of Arsenal, that's my football team. But I'm looking at it and thinking this is our best chance to win the Premier League this season, because next season teams are bound to improve. We're not going to see Liverpool be as bad. We're not going to see Chelsea be as bad. Even Man City, they could win this league, but they've still not been at their scintillating best that we've been accustomed to see from Man City over the previous 5 to 6, 7, 8 seasons. So we could see them return to their form as well. Where will teams like Newcastle, Manchester United kick on from here as well? So I'm really, really worried for my team Arsenal. But in terms of Premier League, we're just going to see more and more competition and more top players, managers move to this league, because the Premier League really is looking like the Super League, to be completely honest about it. The thing about the Portuguese and Dutch leagues is they are really solid quality, but because of the money, they keep losing top young players to bigger leagues. Fantastic point, Jeff. Fantastic point. We're seeing players like De Ligt, for example, move on. We're seeing players like, for example, I know he flopped, to be completely honest. What's the guy's name, man? Oh, I've forgotten his name. The midfielder that went to Manchester United, Donny van de Beek. He was at Ajax. He moved on as well. We're seeing Enzo Fernandez move on from Benfica to Chelsea, for example. These top players, really, really good, but it's a bit of a feeder league. As Jeff said, it just moves on to the more exciting places. They haven't got the money and they haven't got the world attraction, because not as many people are watching that league. So it's really sad to see that, but at least they're comfortable with that. I'm from Turkey, right? I'd love if Turkey did a similar thing. If Turkey did the same thing and set up academies, it'd be really good, because Portugal and Netherlands are not massive nations. Their populations are not humongous. Yet they always seem to perform in international competitions because they've got really good academy systems. They've got clubs that are willing to scout and play young players from their nation. I really like to see that. Whereas when I watch the Super League, I see Turkish teams, right? And they're playing these old heads. Like, you got players like Dembaba over there. Players like Batshuayi. Players like Icardi. Why? Just get young Turkish talents. That's what I want to see. And they're not doing that. So fair play to the Portuguese and Dutch leagues, because at least they're nurturing their young talents. And it helps them, because on the international stage, we're looking at teams like Netherlands and Portugal, which are really good in international football and are always looking dangerous to potentially win the World Cup or Euros. And it's probably a farce that Netherlands have never ever won the World Cup, to be completely honest, because they're very much deserved of it, especially with the legends they've had throughout the years. So yeah, fair play to them. But as you said, Jeff, a lot of them do end up moving on to bigger and better leagues, it seems. Spot on, Jeff. I want to see Ajax win the Champions League a few years ago. Me too, man. I was distraught when Tottenham knocked them out. Lost in the semi-final at the death to Spurs. Exactly, yeah. Lucas Moura at the end as well with a hat-trick. I would have loved to see that as well, because that Erik ten Hag Ajax team, there was something special about them. They didn't have the quality players. It reminded me a lot of Leicester winning the Premier League, because they just had a squad together. Like, it looked like they were all just locked in, focused. And there wasn't a lot of quality necessarily, because they weren't household names. But everything just seemed to click for that squad, and I genuinely thought they were going to get to the final. They beat some tough teams getting there as well, but fair play to Tottenham, they did the business. Tomorrow I'm going to be live for watch along of Chelsea vs Madrid, just to have a laugh. Make sure you subscribe to RG12, another great YouTuber here on the platform as well. I mean, look, Chelsea Madrid, I think we're all expecting Real Madrid to win that game, but if Chelsea come away with something, don't be surprised. They are a European powerhouse, just like Real Madrid are, and it is a Champions League quarter-final. Anything can happen, let's not forget that. But I do believe Real Madrid are going to win that game, to be completely honest. Yes, they play too often. It's for TV. They don't have enough big clubs in Scotland. Like I said yesterday, we need a UK league. Sadly, it won't happen. 100% agree. 100% agree. As we discussed yesterday, I'd love to see the teams from Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland come into the UK and have a 24-team league with Celtic and Rangers in there. But like you said, I don't necessarily think it's going to happen, unfortunately. Haaland, will he break the most of records in football? Insane goal stats already. It's looking that way. Haaland is an absolute monster. This brother is a robot up front. He just is a goal magnet. He makes what, like, I don't know if it's just you lot. When I watch Haaland score goals, he makes them look so easy. Like, I watch him, I'm thinking, why are not more players scoring this many goals? Like, why are not more players scoring 30 goals? Because he makes it look so easy. And that's a sign of a top player. When they make football look easy, they're a good footballer. Trust me, guys, because it's not easy. It's not easy to hit what he's doing, but he makes it look so easy. He's an unbelievable footballer. He's already scored the most goals in the Premier League this season. He's going to go on, if he stays in the Premier League, he's going to go on to break Alan Shearer's record. I don't expect him to stay in the Premier League that long, but if he does, he will definitely do that. He is unbelievable, that guy, man. With a lot of weak domestic leagues in Europe, do you think the Super League will happen eventually? Unfortunately, I think it will happen eventually. I genuinely think it will. The problem with the Super League is, right, it's never going to go away. Because while we've still got these rich owners in football that want their revenues and they want their turnovers and they want another Ferrari to add to their supercar collection, they want another yacht, they want another private jet, they're going to want to drive the revenue up in football. And whether we like it or not, the revenue comes from the Champions League matches like this. The revenue comes from Real Madrid versus Barcelona, not Real Madrid versus Eibar, not Real Madrid versus Getafe. They want to see the top football matches. And how that happens is with a Super League. And the thing is, right, the problem they made is they went too hostile. They went in too deep with here's a Super League, closed shop, 12 teams in it, a few other teams that do well in their domestic leagues can join in. You're seeing Arsenal versus PSG, PSG versus Bayern every week, beautiful football, everyone's happy. But it wasn't that way because football fans, we love this sort of, we don't like the fact that football's a closed shop. We don't like this elitist Super League. We want it to be a case where if Wrexham play really well, they can make it to the Premier League eventually. We don't want to see this case where Arsenal can flop and play horrible football, yet they're still in the Super League every season because they're a founding member. No one like that. How I think they're going to go at it is they've learned their lesson. They're going to come back with the Super League, but they're going to portray it in a more friendly manner. Maybe they're not going to have founding members. Maybe they're just going to say it's the elite Super League. Whoever finishes top 4 joins that. So they replace the Champions League with it potentially. But make no mistake about it. The players at the top, the stakeholders at the top is still Perez. It's still the greedy rich owners like that. It's still the Kroenkes, still the Glazers, still FSG. They're still the owners that are interested in having the Super League. And make no mistake about it. As soon as they get the Super League through the door, they'll be willing at any cost to change it and have the biggest matches played. And have Man City play Bayern Munich in New York City. And have Arsenal versus Real Madrid played in LA. And have another game in Singapore, for example. Because that's what they're about. They're greedy owners. So I unfortunately do think the Super League will return eventually. It's just up to us as football fans to be vigilant. And if anything says Super League in it, or if anything's proposed by Florentino Perez, we reject that outright. That should just be a law in football. If Florentino Perez is offering anything on the table, reject that stuff outright because he's shown his true colours. A leopard does not change their spots. Hi Leighton Cook, thank you for joining to the stream, my friend. Appreciate you joining in. Nunes PFP, we know he's a proper Liverpool fan out here, man. Let's see how Liverpool do in the Champions League next season if they make it. I want them to qualify, to be completely honest, but I don't think they will, unfortunately. Is Haaland the best striker in the world currently? Best striker, yes. Best player in the world, no. I still think Mbappe is better than Haaland, in my opinion. I just think, from what I see from Mbappe, I just see a live wire. I just see dynamite with Mbappe. I see a player that can change a game like this. Haaland is an elite goal scorer, and he is the best striker in world football in terms of pure striker. But if I'm looking for an all-round best player, a best forward, I'm looking at Kylian Mbappe. Mbappe can receive the ball from deep and change the game. Mbappe can receive the ball on the wing and score a goal. Haaland in the box is gold. He's gold dust. But if I'm looking to win a game, I'm giving Mbappe the ball on the wing. I'm giving Mbappe the ball in the centre of the box. Let the brother cook. That's why for me, Mbappe over Haaland, but two amazing footballers. Yes, Portugal 10 mil and Netherlands 17 mil, I believe. Yeah, see, their populations are not massive by any stretch of the imagination. Yet, they've got great academies. They obviously put their money towards football, and you can see what happens. Brilliant footballers coming from their academies and rising up their ranks. I also thought Liverpool versus Spurs final was a poor spectacle. Do you think that final was better when it's teams from different nations? Good point, if it's better than different nations. You're right, to be fair, because, look, even Bayern Munich versus Borussia Dortmund at Wembley, that finished 1-0 Bayern Munich. So I do see a point you're saying when it's saying when you have finals from different countries, different teams playing, it's a better spectacle. Potentially, you're right. That Liverpool Spurs final was terrible, man. One of the worst finals in world football in Champions League history, I have to say. But I think that's a good point, a really good point. Genuinely, I think that could be a thing where a final. I've never even really thought about it like that. So that's really opened my eyes to that potentially being a factor where when you got a final between teams from different nations, it's better because they obviously haven't played each other like regularly, etc. It's like it's not from the same nation as much. Yeah, I think genuinely, I think that could be a factor. I think that there is a correlation between teams playing from different countries in the final and the final being a better spectacle. Genuinely, I would not be surprised if that's a factor. I remember watching Man City versus Crystal Palace and we were up 2-0. Then, I remember that. I remember at the start of the season when Haaland scored a hat-trick, I was like, oh my God, can we stop this guy? This guy is a monster. So good Erling Haaland, man. Unbelievable striker. The thing is, if he starts getting going and if he's getting the service from De Bruyne, you can't stop it. Like, I remember the first game I watched of the season for Man City when they played West Ham. It was devastating. Like, when I watched this, my eyes were like this. Like, De Bruyne played a through ball to Haaland and he ran through and he scored. And genuinely, I had no clue how you stop that. I have absolutely no clue. It was the first game of the season, West Ham versus Man City. De Bruyne plays a through ball, a defense splitting pass, and it wasn't exactly like a world-class pass. He just passed the ball forwards, and Haaland was well behind the defender. He had the run on the defender, and he just sprinted, and the defenders had no chance catching him up, and his finishing was clinical. And from when I saw that, I thought Man City were going to run away with the league, because that is just purely clinical. But City don't do that enough. They don't play enough defense splitting passes. They don't play enough passes where it's just breaking the lines, and Haaland's well through. I feel like a lot of the goals Haaland's scoring, it's because he's in the right place at the right time rather than Man City genuinely trying to play through balls to him. Because if he was in Liverpool's team, for example, I think Haaland would score way more goals because they were just playing forward like long ball FC. They're not doing that enough, Man City. He genuinely doesn't suit Pep Guardiola's philosophy, but the fact he's still able to bag 30 plus Premier League goals, despite the fact he's not necessarily Pep Guardiola's perfect striker, is just a massive testament to him. What a striker he is. Putting the ball in the back of the net is the hardest thing in football. Agree. Haaland makes it look easy. Exactly as I said. Would you be interested in a Super League? No, I would not be. I'm entertained enough with the Premier League. I'm entertained enough with the Champions League. The only thing I'd like to see personally is having the Champions League have 5 English teams, because I think there's enough quality there. Like, I'm not being funny. I know the Champions League should have teams from all over the world, and sorry, all over Europe. But let's be honest. The best placed Hungarian team is not as good as the 11th place Premier League team. Let's be completely honest about it. So if it's genuinely the Champions League, it should have about 5, 6, 7 teams from England. Let's be real. I'm not asking for that, but I think at least 5 teams should be from England in the Champions League. I just think the Champions League should have more quality teams in there. But overall, I'm fine with the way football is. I'm genuinely completely fine with it. Is the Champions League turning into a Super League? Not necessarily, because the Champions League isn't changing much. To be completely honest about it, I mean, the Champions League hasn't. I know the format's changing with I think it's going to be 48 teams in a league system, which I'm not a massive fan of, but it is what it is. It's not a massive change, to be completely honest to it. I'm just not a fan of the club coefficient rule allowing teams into the competition. But yeah, I think to be fair, Champions League turning into a Super League. I don't necessarily think it's turning into a Super League, but it's always going to be the pinnacle of club European football. Let's be honest, it's a Champions League, man. It is the creme de la creme in terms of European club football. That is the equivalent of the World Cup for clubs. So it's inevitably going to be like a Super League, but turning into a Super League, I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case. Mbappe, great all-round. Haaland, a great goal scorer. Agree. And for me, I just want an all-round top player. And for me, that's why I prefer Mbappe over Haaland, but brilliant players. Worst final I've ever seen was AC Milan 0-0 Juventus Champions League final 2003. Typical Italian defending and sitting back ball draw and won on penalties at Old Trafford. Obviously, I don't remember that final. I was 1 year old, but yeah, I think the worst final I've watched was Liverpool-Tottenham, actually, 2-0. I think the earlier finals I remember is Inter Milan winning their final with Jose Mourinho. Not Inter Milan, sorry. Who's that team? It was Inter Milan. Inter Milan he won the Champions League with. It was Inter Milan. Jose Mourinho won the Champions League with Inter Milan. I remember when Barcelona took apart Manchester United in I think it was back-to-back finals where Messi scored that brilliant header. Back post. It was one of the best headers I've ever seen in world football. Those were my earliest Champions League final memories around that 2007, 2008 era. I think I even remember watching the Chelsea Liverpool when John Terry slipped. That was a brilliant final as well. Juve won, I think. Yeah. Sorry, it was AC Milan. I mean, I don't remember, but yeah, going on to penalties. That's typical Italian teams, right? They just sit back, defend, and soak up pressure. Club coefficient, disgraceful rule, 100% agree. Should never, ever be a factor. Should always be a case of if you're good that season, you get in. It doesn't matter what you've done in previous seasons. You should get in based on the merit of the season prior. That's how I believe it should be. And I think every football fan agrees with that. Liverpool versus Spurs was up there, but we had goals. Yeah, we had goals at least. But the thing with Spurs, yeah, they make me laugh because Spurs have a mental problem. How you get into your first Champions League final ever and you can see the penalty in the first minute? That is crazy. The fans got up there in their first ever Champions League final for Tottenham and they've conceded the penalty straight away. It's ludicrous, man. Completely crazy. 2009 final, yes, I remember that one. Brilliant. Barca stopped United winning more Champions League. And that's the thing. We talk about how Liverpool didn't win the Premier League over the past 5 seasons because of how good Man City were. Manchester United should have won the Champions League 2-3 seasons if it wasn't for Messi and Xavi, Iniesta, David Villa, that Pep Guardiola Barcelona team, which was unbelievable, so good, man. That football was unbelievable, man. Do you follow the Europe and Conference League apart from when Arsenal in it? A little bit, not really the Conference League, to be honest. I know West Ham's still in there, but Europa League I do follow, to be completely honest, and I will be doing a reaction to Manchester United Sevilla on Thursday, 10 p.m, same time, because that'll be a really interesting match. Manchester United, who are really going to be gunning for this Europa League, given they're pretty much guaranteed for top 4, and they're not going to fight for the title against Sevilla, who are the Europa League mentality monsters. We talk about Real Madrid mentality monsters in the Champions League. This is Sevilla's competition, being the Europa League. I have no interest in them. I don't blame you. Champions League is a creme de la creme. But yeah, I think the Europa League and Conference League is alright, but it's not necessarily the best. Should West Ham win the Conference League? On paper, potentially, they should. But there's still some tough teams in there. And their Premier League form has been horrendous for West Ham United. Absolutely horrendous. So you look and you say, potentially, they should. But as an Arsenal fan, I'm just delighted that they're still in the Conference League. Because that means on Sunday, West Ham hopefully play a short change side against Arsenal. And I'm hoping then we can take advantage for it. But yeah, going to wrap up the stream since it's already been 50 minutes. Going to summarise the game. So yeah, Man City took Bayern Munich to cleaners. I hope it was going to be a tighter match than it was. But complete whitewash, 3-0. Goals from Rodri, brilliant strike in the first half. Then Bernardo Silva. And then Erling Haaland to wrap it up 3-0. Gives them a convincing lead. In the other match, Inter Milan beat Benfica 2-0 away from home. It seems as though off the first legs, Man City and Inter Milan are destined to get through to the semi-final. I hope tomorrow's got a bit more cagier, tighter games, because I don't want to see blowouts. I want to see games that are evenly matched, and hopefully that's what I'm looking forward to. As always, make sure you subscribe if you're new around here. Last comment coming in from Tommy. How much would it mean to Hammers fans? It'd be absolutely massive if West Ham win the Conference League, to win any sort of European silverware, especially for a team in West Ham that have not had any European silverware. They're a team that hasn't been in Europe a lot recently. I know they won the Europa League last season, but it'd be massive for them, especially in how bad this season's been for them. To win the Europa Conference League would be absolutely massive, and I do wish them the best, because I have nothing against West Ham whatsoever. But yeah, as I said, I appreciate you guys tuning into the stream. My next stream will be tomorrow, 10 p.m. Real Madrid versus Chelsea in another Champions League Titanic clash. And of course, I'll be talking about Napoli, AC Milan as well. Another game I'm absolutely fascinated in. I appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you subscribe if you're new around here on my road to 2,000 subscribers. Let me know your thoughts game in the comment section if you're watching this after the live stream is done. I've been Football. I appreciate you all tuning in. Drop a like down below and hope to see you all in my next stream. Take care.